Welcome to the Freedom Chronicles.
Definitely an antisocial type.
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We got a loudspeaker here, and when we go into battle, we play music very loud.
With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Chronicles. I'm your host, Mike Imbasciani. Thank you for joining us in another episode. Happy New Year, everybody. First show of the new year. And of course, we are broadcasting from the Bryant Chapman State Farm bunker right here in Southwest Florida. And like a good neighbor, Bryant Chapman State Farm is there for all the insurance needs you have for your very own bunker. You can give his office a call at 941-625-9998 or visit the office at 2040 Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte. We have a great show for you today, but before we get into that, you can find the show on many different platforms, including Rumble. So make sure you subscribe to the Rumble page, share it with your friends. It's all about getting the news out. Also on CTA, Conservative Television of America. You can find it at ctva.tv. Download the app, watch all the shows on CTA. Also find it on your local TV in Georgia, Florida, and out in Arizona now.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so. And now on YouTube for now. The last episode got pulled down. We don't like that.
Kenny was being mean.
Kenny was being mean. But yes, we are still on YouTube for now. Go find the Freedom Chronicles on there. Also, now this episode is the first episode that is now on BitChute. You can find that as well. Download that and go watch that online. Also on Brighteon, trying all the different ways to get the word out to you folks. Also find us on Spotify. You can watch the video show on there as well as just listen to the audio version of the Freedom Chronicles. Also find the audio only version of the show. If you're driving into work, you don't want to watch it, you can listen to us. Listen to Ken soothe you as you drive down the highway. Yes. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as iHeartRadio. Send us an email with your feedback as well. Your questions, your comments, your concerns. Ken's in a better mood today. It's okay. But send us an email, mikeimbasciani1@gmail.com. Also, if you really enjoy this show, you can donate to the show on Venmo at Mike-Imbasciani-1. We have a great couple guests with us today because they're joined at the hip, which is a good thing. That's what you want in a family business. We have Tyrone Jackson and his wife Marcella coming in. They are the owners of the Good Frank and the new their new project they're doing, the local meat club.
We've only separated them at the hip in between. You know,
yes, just in the video portion, yeah. But they are literally attached at the hip right now as well. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing good.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on the show. Now, I first heard about you, Tyrone, and the Good Frank. My mother found you online. She was looking for some better alternatives for hot dogs. And, you know, it's kind of hard to find out there because hot dogs aren't exactly known for being made of the best material, so to speak.
Right.
But it was nice to find she found you in the Good Frank, and we ordered your hot dogs. And I love this hot dog that you have, the 45 steak Frank. It's huge. It's huge. It's so natural, so true.
This is the best Frank you'll ever have.
Yes.
I gotta try this.
I know you do, Ken. So needless to say, obviously you're Trump supporters, conservatives, and that was another thing that drew us to you. So if you can, give us your history and kind of why you started the Good Frank.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having us on. It's a pleasure. Really honored to be here. First bit of the year. We started the Good Frank. It would kind of be, in order to understand that, you got to kind of go back a little bit. We actually started a hot dog cart straight out of college. Marcella and I weren't married at the time, and I realized that I wanted to learn about business. And I was in my last year at college, and I was studying political science, and I realized that, man, I don't want to go to law school. I don't want to do this. I really want to learn about business, but I don't have any time left in school. So I said, well, I'll start a hot dog cart because it's a simple kind of thing I can get into to learn about business and learn hands on. And if I blow it, no harm, no foul, just a couple of $1,000s, I'll be able to catch up. And so, yeah, so after that, I started a hot dog cart in Nashville, Tennessee, downtown, and we did really well. We had 3 carts, catering business. We took over like operations at a country club or at a tennis club,
Wow.
and it was really, really kind of great. We were living life, bought a house, and like we're pregnant with our first child, got married, and then we found out about how hot dogs were made.
Food Inc.
Yeah, we saw Food Inc. and it it was crazy what I saw there, and so I started
Dan
calling my
Aykroyd
suppliers.
on Saturday Night Live was right.
Yeah.
Dog parts and rodent excrement.
Well, no, it wasn't so much that.
Not that bad.
not so much that. But we started to look into it, and it wasn't the hot dogs, but the beef. Like at the time, 70% of the beef was being treated with ammonium hydroxide. And so what happened was, yeah, exactly, ammonia. It was literally ammonium hydroxide is literally ammonia and water. And so they were pouring this stuff in ground beef. 70% of the nation's ground beef. And the reason they were doing it was because of how they were raising cattle and how they were processing. They would not take the time to actually clean the cow. So instead of cleaning the cow and preparing it for slaughter, it had poop all over the hide, and they were just throwing it in like an assembly line, and they were pouring the bleach or ammonia in.
It wasn't feasible.
Right. And so the problem is we were selling beef hot dogs. And if 70% of the supply has this stuff in it, how do I know that it doesn't have? My hot dogs don't have this stuff in it.
Yeah.
And so I started calling, and nobody could tell me. They laughed at me. They were like,
literally.
I was like, where's your beef coming from? Does it have this in it? They're like, what do you mean? Where's it coming? There's 1,000 cows that went in this batch of hot dogs. And I was like, what?
That could have came from China for all we know, like.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
right.
And so I tried to look at like organic options, and there was just like Applegate Farms. At the time, organics really hadn't taken off so much. This is like 2008 maybe. And they were just ungodly expensive. It wasn't something that you could actually build a business around, especially the type of carts that we had. And so I ended up closing down our business. And we ended up, there was no Disney story. There was no, kumbaya or fairy godmother. Like we literally lost everything, and we were going into the recession or the Obama years, and where there was no job anywhere. And so we sold all of our equipment just to try to keep ends meet. And then we ran into just a series of nightmares, and we ended up moving up to Ohio and staying with in-laws. It got really bad. And I ended up working at Nationwide Children's Hospital as a dishwasher. If you can only imagine that, owning your own business and then going to work as a dishwasher, the lowest position like in a hospital. And one day I was driving to work, and there was a thought that came to me, and it came with such power. And it said, Tyrone, you can't let life hand you a defeat like this. It's like, if you suffered from this problem, not being able to find good quality food, other people are suffering from it. And in that moment, driving down High Street, I decided that I would reopen my business if I had to raise the cow to myself. Those were the words that I said. I will reopen my business if I have to raise the cow myself. I was making $14 an hour. We had 2 children living with in-laws, nothing. I had nothing. And I don't know how I would do it, but I committed that I would rebuild the business. And so I started saving, and I remember for 4 or 5 months, every day after work, I would sit in the cafeteria after I finished my shift, and I would write out a business plan and try to figure out how we get into the market, what my narrative would be, what would be our competitive advantage, what things look like. And one day I had enough money to save to survive for 6 months. And so we had moved out at this point, but I had 6 months of expenses. I was like, I'm doing it. And so I quit.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was I learned to farm. So I went around and tried to find a farm that would take me on as an understudy or a field hand so I can learn about the process of making food. And that kind of went into a whole nother thing, but it ended up becoming the Good Frank. We ended up finding an inner city farm and setting up markets for them. Marcella and I both did it. And and it's funny, we built the relationship with the stores that sold our products before we even built the products. And so we, through that situation. And so we came up with some recipes, and we found a co-packer and ended up selling hot dogs to the stores from meat that we partnered with a farmer to raise. And so that was kind of the beginning of the Good Frank. And then we learned a lot of lessons along the way, and there's been many iterations. But we've learned about the whole food system as a result of that. And so somewhere along the line, maybe 2016, somewhere around in there, we learned that the system is fundamentally broken. It's broken beyond like just chemicals and everything. Every part of the food system is broken. And there's not really going to be kind of success and joyous and kumbaya experience that you want to have until you rebuild the whole thing. And it has to be rebuilt upon a different spirit, and mutual benefit. And that just doesn't exist right now. And so the Good Frank came into being. The Good Frank came into being to one, answer the question how I can make better quality hot dogs, to kind of recapture a dream that I felt had been unfairly stolen from me earlier. And then it morphed into understanding that we needed to rebuild a whole system. And so we're in the process right now of transitioning the Good Frank into a school of entrepreneurship, of food entrepreneurship, because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have people with the skills to build the actual system, like every part of the food system is specialized. You need butchers. You actually have to understand how to process meat. You need farmers. They have to understand how to raise meat. You need kitchen specialists. You know, you have to learn how to actually make the product and how to prepare it. And those things, you have to be taught those things. And so we're building a system that teaches and prepares these people to be able to not only fill in for what we need as a company, but to be able to start to develop self-reliance and independence for themselves with the skills.
Yeah, that's great.
That's fantastic. And first of all, just we commend you for all the hard work. I mean,
indeed. You know, because a lot of people give up, but I mean, you had a vision, you kept writing it down. I mean, you created your own
success,
your own wish.
Yeah.
And that's, I applaud. That's awesome.
And to go, like you said, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, every one of us is alive, some more than others. But if you don't spend your life pursuing your dream, what are you doing?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
and it takes a lot of courage too, to say the product that I'm selling is not what people should be getting. And so to just completely shut it down and say, because no, I'm not going to serve something like that, because
I'm going to make something better.
You're going to make something better. It takes time. And
what was it like dealing with the bureaucracy and getting the licensing and all that, and the inspections? I'll bet that was a thrill.
Well, I've done it so many times. Like, I've started a cart in Texas, in Ohio, and Tennessee. All governments are the same. They're all dazed and confused. Nobody ever. It's kind of a funny thing. Like, you start, and I know more about the process than most bureaucrats do. So it's like, I can navigate it. But if you're just going into it, good luck, dude. The health department doesn't know what the fire department's doing, doesn't know what the business department's doing, doesn't know what sidewalk encroachment's doing, doesn't know what, tax is doing. Right. And all of those guys are more than happy to shut you down. So, yeah.
Well, and
but
that's
it's the
what's
same.
good, that you're trying to create this group of, and that's what it takes. I mean, when they say it takes a village, this is what they mean. It takes, the right understanding with the right people to say, okay, you have the farmers, you have the processors, you have the butchers, and you have the people who sell it, and everybody has to understand their role.
And we're putting out a better, cleaner product.
Yeah, because it will take less people, because I feel like the more people that have gotten involved, and you have people like Gates and even China that's buying up all this farmland, and all they're doing is regulating all of it and trying to take all of it over and have that control over all the farmland and what gets produced on it, and the bugs that they want us to eat.
Have you started working on a cricket, Frank?
Never.
No, there's something within.
Bravo.
Yes.
Bravo.
Never.
That's a little rabbit
Maybe
hole.
enough. I'm sorry.
That's a little rabbit hole we can go into. But there's something within insects that's actually really harmful to human beings if they consume it, and it's kind of just like exactly.
Yeah, get
it's kind of like
and things. Oh yeah,
exactly.
People. Oh,
exactly. Man. Just like the FDA, if you look at their rules, like what they allow in terms of additives to be added to food, it's absolutely astonishing. But ammonium hydroxide is on the list. It's safe to be added to food. Like, who comes up with this stuff is, I mean, Satan couldn't do a better job, And so it's
behind all of it.
Well, and I liked one of the things you said in the email that you sent me about your history, that you were listening to older folks too. You made a habit of sitting and listening to the older people talk, listening to that advice, and weighed in on many things, and helped your life as you produced your life forward. What kind of, were you always raised conservative as well? I know you were raised Christian in your Christian home, but when was kind of the flip into understanding the conservative mentality as well?
So first of all, I think that most Americans are conservative.
Oh, really?
Most Americans are conservative. Nearly all Black people are conservative. Nearly most immigrants are conservative. Most Americans are conservative. The problem is Republicans have done a piss poor job of actually explaining the principles that conservatism rests on. And so people are living conservatively, living like traditional American values, but they're so ignorant as to what it is that they believe that they will allow someone to come in and tell them something that violates every single thing that they believe. It's kind of like
for the greater good.
Right. And so the thing is, even the whole idea of, we have to be, let me kind of start here. There is an order for life. The order generally is be, do, have. So everything flows from your essence, who you believe that you are. Because the thing is, let's say if you believe that you're strong, right, then you will do things that strong people do. And if you do things that strong people do, you will have things that strong people have. Now, if you believe that you are a victim, you will do things that victims do, and then you will have the slavery that victims have. Now, I say all that because the language that we've been handed by society reinforces a state of being that is not in harmony with our natural state. It's not in harmony with our desired state. And what people don't realize is once we accept that premise of being, that state of being that's handed to us, then there are natural things that flow from that. Once we accept the state of being, we start doing things that are not in harmony with our being. And then we start having things that are not in harmony with our being. This idea of even what you just said a second ago about it takes a village to do anything or to raise a child, or however that stupid saying goes. Like the bottom line is there's nothing but individuals in the village. And at any moment, the individual, if he feels like the village isn't meeting his interests, he can up and leave. And he's now dissolved the whole idea of the village. He's an individual again. If there are two individuals that feel the same way, then they leave and come and form something else. And the bottom line is, when I'm talking, it's one thing, because there's a lot of Pollyanna people, a lot of these village people that talk about what should be done, but why haven't they done it? That's the real question. Why haven't they executed? Because the moment they go out and do something, they realize that it takes resources, it takes attention, it takes sacrifice, it takes time, it takes commitment. And the first thing they do is look for the government to start to pay for these things. Like, we haven't done that. If I, even now, as the person that I am, after catching the hell of building the for all these years, I might not have done it if I had known the road at the beginning that I would have had to go through. It may not have been worth the cost to me. But the thing is, I'll tell you, the process has changed me, and it has made me a profoundly different person as an individual. And people see that and they look to me and they follow me, but they don't realize what forged that within me. I think ultimately the solution to all of these problems that we're dealing with as a country is that we need to get back to the place where we are being in harmony with our nature. You know, we need to start talking like we are, talking like we are what we were created to be. And that will set in motion a whole nother train of things, you know?
Definitely.
I agree.
Well, and you're right. And it's the individual that controls themselves. You can't rely on anything, but the government wants you to rely on them, therefore the high taxes and everything, and the control that they want and what they don't like. And what did they do during the pandemic? The government shut down all the small businesses of the people who were reliant only on themselves, but kept the bigger businesses that of course dealt with the government open.
Correct.
Yeah,
and so
liquor stores are open, but churches had to be closed.
And so, I guess I'll comment on that, but let me back up and answer the question that you asked, about my grandparents and all that. When I was younger, I did listen. My grandmother raised me, and my mom, she was, I don't know really what she was doing, but she had three children. And, it was so bad there that my sister and I have a twin sister. We ran away from home. And it sounds more dramatic than what it is. My grandmother lived around the corner. It's so packed up. My sister packed up her backpack.
Yeah.
And she was like, "I'm out of here." And I was like, "Hold on, don't leave me." And so we left. I think we were maybe about 10. And we decided to live with our grandmother. And from that point, we didn't really see our mom that much, which is really weird. She lived right around the corner, which was kind of the odd thing. And I struggled with that for many years. How does a person have a child and not want to see them? Does not really. And it was a lot of problems, in terms of my development, because of that issue. But one that caused me to be very introspective about life and to really watch people and try to understand what was going on with people. I was like, how do you end up in this situation? How do you end up with children you don't want? How do you end up in a situation where you can't care for the children? How do you end up in this situation at all? And so I started listening to my grandmother and her friends, and I went to an old people church and I listened to them, and all these people had all of these really interesting stories, and I just always tried to make it a habit to learn so that I wouldn't recreate the same situation that my mom recreated with me. I didn't want to be that or do that to anyone. And so
very nice. Well, and you have a beautiful family as well. I love seeing, you're very, family is a very important thing. And, it's across the entire nation of how, if you have the family unit, family business, it's incredible. It's a thing more people need to get to. And what I want to do with this show as we start the new year is, as I've said to folks in the last couple episodes we've done, is kind of explain that we talk about the news and we talk about what's happening in the world and around the country. And Tyrone, we kind of talked about this yesterday when we spoke, that it can feel like you're paralyzed, that you're just one person And what really can you do, especially in the grand scheme of things, when you see what's happening across the country, across the world, when COVID happened and the lockdowns into now with what they're trying to do with the economy and the recession and food. And that's why I want to bring on folks like you and talk about it can be done with one person, as long as you understand you have to do it one step at a time. And I think that's kind of what you're starting with the local meat club here. So kind of talk about, because at the end of the day, you see all this food, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, that's overly processed, and people want to find that better alternative. And I think it takes people like you to say there is a better alternative, and if there isn't, I'm creating my own. And so kind of tell us about the local meat club and what you want to do with that.
Okay, so the local meat club, we started the local meat club during the pandemic, and I have been watching the news. I always kind of try to keep an eye on what's going on, but I have been watching the news, and I saw that they were shutting down restaurants in France and in Europe, and I realized that would happen here because, again, all governments think alike. It's weird. It's like the type of people that are attracted to government. Yeah, monkey see, monkey do. They're just not very creative people, And so I knew that if they were shutting down overseas, that the chances were really good that they would shut down here. Now, being that I've been involved in every level of food service, we had raised cows and brought them to market. I knew how this food system would react if they shut down the entire restaurant industry. And so I was like, there would be, you can find YouTube videos even, there's going to be meat shortages, prices are going to rise, and we're going to have a problem, like in terms of finding cuts of meat. And so I said, okay, I need to act, first of all, my own self-interest. I have a sausage company. I need to make sure I have meat. And so, I was like, how long this is going to last? And so we need to figure out how to get more invested into our cows on pasture so that we can process. And because there's starting sausage, making sausage or anything from scratch in terms of a live animal is very, very expensive, very expensive. In fact, it's not, you're talking like 2 years that you're waiting, and you may have, $3,000 or $4,000 tied up in a cow, and you don't get to see that return until not only the cow is processed, but the cow is aged, and then the cow is sold. So you have a lot of money that's just suspended. And so when I'm looking at this situation where,
excuse me, it's 2 years for the
18
2 years
20,
once you get the cow to wow.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 years before a cow's mature are ready to process.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And so the thing is, this is why, like, a lot of people, when you see like hot dogs and different things like that, a lot of them have pork because there's a shorter period. So like you can process four successions of hogs for one cow. And so, and the crazy thing is, you have a lot of people don't realize you have, like, let's say a 1,200 pound animal, but you're only going to get 400 pounds of usable meat. And so just think about that. If you're paying per pound, you pay a farmer, $2 a pound for 1,200 pounds. So you're in $2,400, and then you only get 400 pounds out of that you can use. And so now your $2 is now morphed into $6 a pound for beef.
Yeah.
And so it's a very tricky business. A lot of ways to lose money and lose a lot of money quickly. So I was trying to figure out how to make sure that we had meat for ourselves. And also if we were able to build out this system, how we can help families that we knew that would probably be left out in the cold by Kroger and Walmart and all these other guys. Yeah. And so I put a post on Facebook and held a Zoom call, and I was like, I think I have a solution. What I'm going to do is I want to get you guys to come together, and I'll charge you a membership fee, and I'm going to buy some cows. And then I'm going to process the cows and deliver the meat to you guys. I'll give you ownership in this concept. It's kind of like you're funding or becoming an owner of your own steaks. You have a stake in your own steaks. And so
there's the catchphrase.
Do we get to name the cow and get little pictures?
It's like Freedom Cow. We got to.
I don't think you want to name the cow.
I think the Amish kids actually do name the cows. Like I think I've heard hamburger.
It's funny. Yeah, hamburger.
It's funny. There you go.
Brisket and
And so my main goal was to get it going, to service our customers and to not lose money. And so we actually managed, we pulled it off. We processed something like our first year. I want to say we processed something like 10 or 12,000 pounds of meat, something like that. And we didn't lose money. Everybody was happy. We had to figure out shipping and all that other stuff. But the biggest thing was like our structure, because the way that I put the organization together, it actually removed it from government jurisdiction. Because remember, the government shut down all the food service. So what happened was by giving, exactly.
That's the powerful thing.
This is the power that I really want to wake people up to. We talked yesterday about the difference between, like, when a person feels like they can do something one-on-one. Like, let's say, Mike, if a tornado came and tore down your house, right? And you got on Facebook or Twitter and was like, my roof is gone. Oh my God, my cat just flew away. People will be like, oh my God, I'm going to give a donation, right? But then if you said, okay, I'm hurting, and my neighbor, and my other neighbor, and my whole town is gone, people are less likely to act because they feel like they're overwhelmed. They feel like the problem is too big for them to actually act. And so remember when I was talking about being, doing, and having. So when you begin to collapse and feel like life is too much for you, it sets in motion a whole segment or a whole sequence of things that are not good. You tend to actually fold or to operate out of fear. So the one thing about me is when I built the Good Frank and I started from nothing and created something, and I actually experienced that, I realized that there's nothing in life that I can't overcome. It changed who I actually was. It changed my state of being. And so I realized whatever it was that I decided to do, I could do. Now, what I'm trying to do with the local meat club, more than even providing food, is to use it to example that you can do the extraordinary. Because before people start to like do big things, they have to start to be the person who can do big things. And before you can,
ownership is a powerful thing, especially with something as simple as your food. Just to think like at any moment, the government could just say, hey, all slaughterhouses are shut down. Yeah. Well, luckily, if you're part of a herd share, you can keep the steaks rolling because you don't need the government. Okay,
well, and you're already seeing it.
Yeah, 100%.
These places burn down, accidentally, and it is happening. People, you can't deny it is happening. And the chicken plant the other day, or a couple months ago, I think this happened a month or two ago, where they said all the chickens got sick, and they have to kill all of them.
Like people are collapsing all over the football field.
Because they're sad. Yeah, sad. If you're sad, don't be sad. That's what they're calling it, right?
So
that's an adult death syndrome.
So
don't be sad.
So the local meat club is we're tackling a very big problem, but we're starting at the level of your food. This is the one thing that touches everyone, and it is the one thing that's actually something that everybody can wrap their mind around. Americans need to learn how to own. We need to learn how to own our time. We need to learn how to own our income. We need to learn how to own our government. We need to learn how to own our families. We need to learn how to own our bodies. And all of that can be approached through food. Own what you're putting into your food. even if it is just eggs, you have a chicken coop and you're producing your own eggs, there is a certain pride and a certain state of being that comes with ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I bought a car this past year. For the first time, we have 2 cars. We've had one forever, but I bought a car and I paid cash for it. That little 2009 Ford Escape, it rolls like it drives. I have a 22 Pathfinder too, but I love my Escape. It drives. It's paid for.
It feels better, right?
I own it.
It's true. People don't realize that when you actually buy something and you pay for all of it and it's paid off and you worked hard as well for that money, it wasn't just handed to you. You take better care of it, and you take pride in it, and it makes a huge difference. And you're right. It's the better state of mind. It's a better state of mind, and that's where you
bragging rights. You get to tell your friends.
Individually.
Now this is a fine segue for music time.
It's true. Yes, folks. We're going to take a little break and do some music. And folks, if you're enjoying this show, send us your feedback. Send us an email, mikeimbasciani1@gmail.com. And go check out the Local Meat Club, localmeatclub.com, and the Good Frank as well. We're going to enjoy some music. This is from the show just before the end of the year on Christmas Eve Festivus, December 23rd, with my Simply Clapton show. And you can go to my website, mikeimbasciani.com, for the full show schedule and the next Clapton show coming up as well. Enjoy. This is my band covering the Cream song Crossroads.
Crossroads, believe I'm sinking down.
There you go. Crossroads. You're gonna play drums.
Got my air drum set.
So Marcella, kind of tell me, how have you seen Tyrone change over these years, and kind of how do you feel about the whole business, everything as well, from your perspective?
From my perspective, it's been a really beautiful thing to watch, because, we've been together since when we were engaged, like when I was 19. So you're 40 now. I mean, there's a lot of character changes that has happened over time. It's mainly has been the communication has been a lot better, because Tyrone, like when we were younger, he was very sharp. He will cut you, and then I was always the person that had to like bandage up everything, like
emotionally,
yeah. So I kind of had
emotionally cut.
Yeah, but he's gotten so much better over time. It's been really beautiful for the business. Oh my God, he's just been very dedicated from the very beginning. Even seeing him like go down with Nashville when we had to close down, I saw him really, kind of broke his heart. And so, but he came back and had like a determination that, I'm going to figure this thing out, and I was on board with that. And, I have my thing where I love the garden as well. So it's like, I can see myself fit in or something, so it's been a beautiful thing to watch, and just to see his determined, even with me, I'm not gonna lie, there's times where I'm just like, like, especially with these making hot dogs, it is tedious. I am tired. She's like, dude, we gotta keep going. I'm like, I just want somebody else to make them.
I know, right? It's nice. Like I said, you have each other, you have your family, your kids, and it's important to have that family unit. And you're able to grow together and really make something.
Yeah.
Well, tell us how can people find out more about Good Frank? How can they purchase your wares? Can they buy into a cow?
Yes, I want my cow.
Yeah, I realize all the yapping. I didn't explain any of that. I'm sorry. All right. So there's two companies. The one I'm going to focus on kind of first and primarily here is the Local Meat Club. You can join the Local Meat Club by going to localmeatclub.com. The way it works is when you join, you actually join a private membership association, and it's based. It's an agreement between our adjuster, which is the people that care for our animals. With us, we produce the products, and you. And so you actually have an ownership stake in the herd and in the herd operations. So that's where you have a stake in your cow. And so like we go and gather fresh milk. For those that are local here, we gather fresh raw milk, eggs, and we'll deliver that once a week. If you're not local, you can order everything really except for the eggs, and we'll ship it to you. So we have members in California and Arizona, New York, almost everywhere, but we'll ship it to you, and you'll get to enjoy fresh grass-fed, locally raised meat.
It will be frozen.
Yeah,
let's make that clear.
We'll send it frozen to you.
Freshly dry ice it.
Yeah. All of our meat is processed fresh, and then it's aged. It's aged between 14 and 21 days, so you actually get really good quality aged beef, and then we freeze it immediately. And so, and then we distribute it out to our members. And so that's true of beef. We also carry bacon, pork, ground pork, pastrami, sausage. We're getting ready to expand into like turkey, and luncheon meats. Also, raw cheese, chicken. We also have butter, so you can order fresh, actual, real raw butter from us as well, and we'll ship that to you. And the beautiful thing, there's two different ways to join. You can either pay an annual membership of $135, And so it's $99 plus $3 a month for register fee to care for the animals, make sure they have good feed and all kind of care. And or you can pay $15 a month, and that will give you access to everything. And then you can just make your orders through our website. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. It's really, really, really simple and easy. We also have people that buy like half cows, quarter cows, half hogs, or side of beef, as they call it. You don't have to be a member in order to do that. Just reach out to us. It's nice if you're a member. That's great. But we'll arrange that for you. And yeah, that's something we absolutely can do. And the nice thing about the local meat club is most people want better quality food without the hormones, without the industrial processes, but they don't want to buy a whole half a cow. It may just be two people in the house. They just want, maybe a couple 8 pounds of ground beef and, a couple of steaks and something. And so the local meat club is really nice because we sell per cut, not per side. So instead of buying 300 pounds of an animal, you can join and you can only buy a porterhouse or a T-bone steak, and that could be it.
A certain cut that you like,
and get what you want. So long as it's in stock, we'll send it out to you. There's no problem. And we actually do all of our bacon. Yeah, we do all of our bacon.
It's also nice you guys handle all the customer service too. I remember my mom ordered something from you guys, the Good Frank, the last time, and Marcella, you called her, and I didn't know who she's on the phone with. She got off the phone. She goes, "Oh, that was Marcella from the Good Frank. It was so nice. She called me." I was like, "And you didn't tell her about the show?"
And so that'll be changing because one of the things we're doing with the local meat club, it won't change so much, but I'm saying we won't be on every aspect of it, because now that we've kind of figured out the model and figured out how we need to do things, we're going to be scaling out. And that's a part of what we're doing. Like if you saw my Facebook with the family unit, we want to train other family units to be like us. So like what I mean when I say like us, we work. We have a couple of businesses, but the biggest thing is we haven't always worked. But for the past 2 years, we haven't paid for milk. We haven't paid for eggs. We haven't paid for butter. We haven't paid for cheese. We haven't paid for pork. We haven't paid for beef. I mean, can you think about like what your grocery bill? Yeah, exactly. What your grocery bill looks like. If you take out, if you were to add up your purchases for the staples, the basics, dairy, meat, cheese. Add that up for a year. How much money?
2017 either. I found this picture of eggs. How much eggs were in 2017? What did it say, Ben? You have that picture to put up there?
$1.35
It's like 27 cents for 27 cents for Walmart, December 2017.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
Came out of actual chicken.
Well, 17 now.
Yeah, but now eggs are what, pushing $5 some places? It's crazy.
Yep.
But
I get mine from him.
I know. I may or may not have chickens.
So, hey, nothing wrong with that, man. We're selling many dozen or providing many dozen eggs every week, and we're going to be expanding that here, just because it's good to have these things for yourself.
Yeah, and you get bragging rights, like I said. It's like, I don't get my meat from the store anymore.
Listen,
I have my own.
Exactly. I get very well, Pat. I drink the raw milk.
That's great word of mouth.
That's right.
Exactly. Listen, there's nothing like a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich when everything that you eat you've made, or everything that you eat you own. It's kind of just a really beautiful feeling. But the point is, when we're as we're expanding this, we're going to set up an affiliate aspect to this. So as people join, like let's say you guys end up joining the local meat club, and I told you about it, I will have an opportunity to earn a bit of money from referring you guys. And so the point is, I always want to tie economic growth to sovereign growth. Because the thing is, people are always going to do what's in their own economic interest, what's in their own self-interest. And I want to make sure that whatever we do is aligned with it. Right now, it's kind of sad because most of the health food industry, most of the better for you foods, they actually exploit people. Like they say, well, look, if you don't want to die, then you need to buy my food. And
right.
My food costs 8 times what normal food costs. But if you don't want to die,
You want the best, don't you? The best costs money.
Yeah, exactly. Think about the hospital bills, and it's just like,
yeah, right. Yeah. Have you been to Camp Lejeune?
And I mean, there's some truth to that. But the thing is,
yeah.
we're not going to be able to really provide a service for people unless we're able to give them some kind of comparative value. And I mean, that's just the honest to God truth. They talk about whole foods or whole paycheck, as they call it. And then it's funny because right before Amazon bought them, we had got approved to sell in their stores. And then they used to be, it used to be that Amazon or that Whole Foods did all their buying at each individual store. When Amazon bought them, they fired their buyers and then they hired a third party to deal with providers like us. And then the third party started charging us to have access to Amazon.
Of course.
Think about that.
Well, I'm sorry I got to cut you off. We're running out of time, but it's so nice to hear that you're doing so well with this. This is what people need to do to get involved.
Once again, the website.
It's localmeatclub.com. And if you want to support our efforts in terms of spreading the goodness of entrepreneurship, you can go to thegoodfrank.com/red wave.
Perfect. Oh, excellent. We like it.
I love that.
Tyrone Marcella, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, go check it out.
Congratulations on
continued
what you've
success.
That's great.
Continued success.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
you, guys. From the bunker, everybody, this will wrap it up for us. We'll get into the politics next week. Have a good one. Remember, it's a better state of mind in your own mind. Do it.
You're watching Conservative Television of America, working hard to stick socialism where the sun don't shine.